Hello and welcome to the Adobe Twitch channel. My name is Terry White, Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist for Adobe, and it's my pleasure to stream here live at twitch.tv/Adobe, the Adobe channel, the official Adobe channel on Twitch. And we're going to do two parts today, as usual. The first part will be from 7 a.m. Pacific to 8 a.m. Pacific, or 10 to 11 Eastern, and that is going to be on hidden benefits, hidden gems, secret tips and techniques, but basically secret features of Adobe Creative Cloud in general. Just things that people miss or ask questions about or don't quite understand about Creative Cloud as a whole. I'm going to cover many of those things, as many as I can fit in an hour. And then the second hour, which is the main stream, the learning stream that's going to happen today from 11 to noon Eastern, or 8 to 9 Eastern, or I'm sorry, Pacific. That will be my Creative Cloud learning stream, which is on Introduction to Lightroom CC Part 2. It's an 8-part series. We did Part 1 on Tuesday. So Part 2 today, let's recap on the first one. We did kind of just really introduction, new catalog, how to import images, all the ins and outs of where images are stored. So today we're going to do collections, smart collections, folders, and when to use which and what each one's for. All right, so with that said, welcome everybody. If you're watching the replay or the video on demand for this first part or the second part, what you will see me do a lot is look over here at my iPad, which is mounted right next to me, where I'll look at the chat. People are asking questions or just making comments, and if it's a question that I need to address, I will do my best to repeat the question, because I know, at least on YouTube, you aren't seeing the chat. On the Twitch video on demand, you can. And from there, I will say things like, good morning, LeeJax20, and good morning, all my moderators, Victoria, Elsie Finch, and everyone else that's in the room that I've already said hello to. And so that's the way this will work, as a video on demand or replay. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the topic at hand. Let me pull up my notes. I've got my notes here somewhere. I just don't want to leave off things that I said I would do when I was writing this all down. Okay, cool. I can see my notes now. Okay, and then of course I'll show you my computer so you guys can see what I'm doing. And let's just go to it. All right, let's do this. We'll go there. All right. So now you should be able to see my system in just a moment here. And a bit of desync. Well, sorry if the audio is out of sync. Slight audio sync. Okay, so I in order to fix it, I'd have to stop the stream and fix it, or attempt to fix it for this one. So when I have to stop the stream for the second hour, I will make that attempt to make that adjustment. Although you said it's slight but obvious. Okay. All right. Sorry, nothing I can do about it now, but I will attempt to fix it for the second half. Okay, so we're here. Well, then don't pay attention to my lips moving. Pay attention to what I'm doing. What we're doing here is let's talk about one of the most obvious, I'd probably say the second most obvious part of Creative Cloud that people question and don't really understand what it's for and when to use it, when to not use it. And I say it's the second part because the first part that people obviously go to Creative Cloud for is the applications. We're going to talk about those in a minute, but the second thing is the Creative Cloud folder itself. So let me show you this folder. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to my home folder, and over here on my sidebar, I've got this folder called Creative Cloud Files. So when you see Creative Cloud Files, you might be wondering, well, what's this folder for? Of course, when you first become a Creative Cloud member, it's empty. There's nothing in it. And most users of Creative Cloud, on average, have a 20 gig limit in that folder. So if you are, for example, a Creative Cloud team member, you get 100 gigs. If you're a Creative Cloud free member, which means you're not paying for the membership, I think you get 2 gigs for free. So it will vary depending on your level of membership. But what this folder is what I like to call work in progress. In other words, I don't store a ton of stuff there. I store stuff that I'm either actively using or stuff that I will potentially want to access across both of my computers and, more importantly, across the Adobe mobile apps. Because if you're a Creative Cloud member and you are taking advantage of the Adobe mobile apps, then whatever you put in this folder will also be accessible in any of those apps as well. So I'm using this folder primarily for those kinds of things. Now, one of the things I'm actually using it for right now today is to keep my lower thirds, these things that are happening down here at the bottom, in sync. So you'll see something, for example, in this folder or in my Creative Cloud Files folder called Twitch Overlays. And in that Twitch Overlays folder, you'll see lots of things, but mainly what you'll see is my lower third. So, for example, there's an up next lower third that you'll see in the second hour, and I updated that yesterday afternoon on my Mac, and my streaming computer is a PC, and that ping file is on now on both computers. So think of this folder from a technical standpoint, just like you would Dropbox. But the other advantage is, or Dropbox or Google Drive or Box or whatever service you want to compare it to. But the advantage to the Creative Cloud folder over all those other ones is that not only is it syncing the files back and forth, but they're accessible in other Creative Cloud areas, especially the mobile apps. Whereas the Dropboxes of the world and all the other ones aren't as accessible to other applications, at least Adobe applications. Now, there's another benefit to whatever you put in this folder is accessible in one more place. It's accessible on the web as well. So if I bring up a web browser, hey GoBJ69, what's up? And I go to adobe.com/creative, actually just go to adobe.com actually. I don't have to go to Creative Cloud, but if I go to adobe.com/creative cloud, and let's see if I'm signed in. I'm signed in, good. If you click on your name once you're on the Adobe website, it will bring up this dashboard, which we're going to talk about a lot of these things, but it'll bring up this dashboard where you have access to your all your benefits of Adobe Creative Cloud, but more importantly, you have access to your Creative Cloud files. So see, this is the same exact area that's on in that folder on your computer. But if I go here, it gives me a web version of those things in my folder. So I can see some of the stuff we did at Adam the Mermaid, and there's Russell Brown, and I can see other files. And this is, again, the advantage that Creative Cloud Files folder has over Dropbox or the other ones, is that not only can I store files and see the icons on the web, but I can actually see the file formats on the web as well. For example, this artist pin, that's an Illustrator file. If this were in Dropbox, there's no way I'd be able to see that Illustrator file on the web because it wouldn't render it on the web for me to see it. So if I click on it here, not only do I get the advantage of being able to see it, but I also get some more information about it, including the font that's being used in it, as well as the color theme that it picked up automatically from it. I can also share this file directly from this web view as well. So the web view gives you access to anything you put in that folder. You can also use the web view to upload files and download files as well. So it doesn't matter whether you drug them into the folder or you uploaded them from your browser, they're going to sync either way and be in that folder. Now, some of the questions I normally get, do I have to put things in the folder? No. You don't ever have to use that folder unless you really want to. If I put something in the folder, this is the biggest question I get. What if I'm not online? Can I still access whatever's in that folder? And the answer is yes, you can still access whatever's in that folder because whatever you put in that folder is still synced to your hard drive and stays on your hard drive even if you don't have an internet connection. The internet connection is simply for the syncing part. Once it's synced, it's there. It lives there until you delete it. So if I get on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean that doesn't have Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi is too expensive, whatever's in that folder is still in that folder, and I can access and work on anything in that folder offline, just like I can with my Adobe apps. So let me check for questions real quick. Okay, I don't see any burning questions. I see comments, but no burning questions. Okay, so keep going. Let's check this real quick here. All right. Okay, so being able to see things on the web or in the folder is great. Being able to see any activity here is also good. And I just want to point this out here. Let me go back to a different one. Let me go back to the folder. I know where I want to go. I want to go to, let's see if I can find it real quick here. I want to go to one of the folders I showed you a minute ago. If I can find it. No. There it is. The Twitch overlays folder. And I want to go to this overlays template. And this is another thing I wanted to point out. So we were in the details tab a minute ago. And in the details tab, we saw that information about the built-in Photoshop, size, 1080p. It's private, means only I can access it. But if I go to the activity, this is another benefit of Creative Cloud that is hidden that most people don't realize. Is that anything you put in that folder automatically becomes versioned. Meaning, if you work on it, you put a PSD in the folder, you open it up, you add a layer, you save it, you close it. Behind the scenes, not only is Creative Cloud syncing that between your computers and syncing it to the cloud, it's also keeping track of the versions. So if you ever messed up, meaning you changed something in a bad way, saved it, forgot, didn't back it up, whatever, you would always be able to go here and revert to a previous version. So this is 14 days on average. Actually, it's more than 14 days. It's supposed to be 14 days of revisions are saved, but it looks like it's doing more than 14 days because it goes all the way back to March. But anyway, at least 14 days worth of revisions that you would be able to go back and revert back to. So if you said, oops, I didn't really mean to change that file, as long as that file was in your Creative Cloud files folder, you should be able to go back and go to a previous version. And so, for example, I changed this, the current version yesterday. If I didn't like the change and I didn't save it, back it up, didn't make a copy, I could always go back and revise to the May 2nd version, which was the last time I made the change. All right. I see GoBJ is asking a Lightroom specific question, which I will have to defer that till either later or in the second stream. Because you're asking a very specific shutter speed, f-stop, ISO kind of thing. And it depends, first of all, I'll answer it real quick. It depends on the device. The Lightroom camera doesn't give you access to many of the things you're talking about. So if that's, I guess that would be the answer right off the bat, is that it does not give you access to those things because it doesn't give you complete manual control of the device. All right. Okay. And as far as the 4mm thing, I think that is fixed to whatever your camera is. So you don't have most smartphones have a fixed lens. You don't, even though it can digitally zoom, you can't actually, there's no really moving mechanism in there to change the focus or the focal point. All right, so let's see if I missed anything else. Well, thank you, Don Carlos. Love you too. Boy Fruit, what's up? Okay, all right. So that is just a versioning thing that was on my list, but I was going to talk about it later, even though that, oh, actually, I was going to talk about it now. So that actually fits right in. Okay. The next thing, which is another cool thing about the Creative Cloud files folder in general, let's go back to it. And let me hide everything else for now, or at least hide this and go back to it. There we go. The other thing that's kind of cool about it is that any folder you put in here can also be a shared folder. So for example, this folder called Twitch Overlays, which I'm the only one that uses this folder, I don't need to share it to anyone, but if I did, I could right click on it and notice it says view on website or collaborate. Collaborate is our word for sharing because you want to collaborate with people on the contents of this folder. So view on website will do exactly what I did manually. It will take you to the web and take you right to this folder. So this is actually a faster way to do it because I went, found the files folder, scrolled around, looked for it, whereas I could have just right clicked and gone right there. But if I go to collaborate, it will still take me right back to it on the web, and then it will bring up this, hey, who do you want to collaborate with box. So I can type in the email addresses of as many people as I want to have access to this files folder. Now, the people you're typing in here would need to be Creative Cloud members. Pretty sure. I'm thinking if you could do it as even as a free member. I think you can. I don't think this requires a paid option for the person you're sharing it to be paid. But the one thing that you'd have to look out for is, remember, the free members only have 2 gigs of space. So if this folder is bigger, then they would not be able to sync everything in it, because whatever's in this folder, whenever you share it to another person, let's say there's 1 gig in this folder, it's going to take a gig of their space too, because it has to sync the stuff down to their hard drive and their Creative Cloud folder as well. So I can share it to as many people, put a comment in, they're going to get an email, they're going to get an alert in their Creative Cloud menu that says, hey, Terry White's sharing a folder or collaborating in a folder with you. Do you accept? If they accept, then the syncing begins, and they would have this exact same folder sitting in their Creative Cloud Files folder with all the contents, and they would have full reign, full access to it to do whatever they wanted. So, for example, this is great when you're sharing with a team member, partner, person, friend, colleague, customer, whatever, and you trust each other. In other words, you don't expect the person to go in and delete everything you did or make changes to everything you did in a bad way. So if I'm collaborating with someone, we have the understanding that we'll both be collaborating, putting things in the folder, and yes, sometimes making changes to the things in the folder, but we're working on the same goal, the same project. So I would be collaborating with people that I expect to be able to do the work in the folder that I need done, or at least to be able to grab the contents of it. If they move something out of the folder, it's moved out of the folder for everyone. If they delete something in the folder, it's deleted for everyone. If they change something in the folder, it's changed for everyone. Now, you do have the archive feature. If someone changes or deletes something in a bad way, you can go back and grab from the archive. But this is the collaborating, sharing option for folders. And there's no limit. You can share as many folders to as many people as you need to. All right, let's go back out. And let me look at my notes. So let's talk about, before I can talk about the next thing in terms of sharing, let's talk about libraries in general. So let me go to libraries real quick. And I'll pull the libraries panel out because I think it's really cool. So if I were to think about what are my favorite features of Creative Cloud, I would have to say the libraries panel is probably my number 1 or number 2 favorite feature. Because we think about favorite features in terms of what do we use the most. And I use the libraries panel pretty much daily. For any time I'm in my desktop applications, I'm pretty much using libraries. Because what the libraries allow me to do is store images, type styles, effects, colors, brushes, graphics, pretty much anything I would need to use between applications. So for example, if I want to work on this image or put this image in InDesign or put this image in Illustrator, by putting it in this library, it's already in InDesign and Illustrator because they have the same library panel. And all I have to do is drag it onto the canvas as needed. Now, I'm in a library that I made called Adobe Stock. You will not have an Adobe Stock library. I made one called Adobe Stock because obviously that's the library I'm going to put any stock images I bring down. Now, this is fairly new, the ones with the blue check mark are the ones that I licensed. The ones that don't have a check mark are the ones that are just previews. I did not pay for them yet because I don't know if I'm going to use them yet. So for example, if I open up this one, it still has the watermark on it, still has the file number on it. It's a low-res image. It has not been licensed. But if I look at that image and say, yeah, I like this dancer, I like the hair, I like the flip, I like everything about this, this ballet dancer, I want to use this image from here on out. Then, and even though I wasn't really going to talk about Adobe Stock as a benefit of Creative Cloud because it's kind of separate, even though it's integrated in Creative Cloud, it's a separate purchase, meaning you're either licensing the images individually or you purchase a separate Adobe Stock plan that includes so many images a month. So I wasn't going to deal with this, but since we're here and we're talking about libraries, anything you do in a library is also now synced to the library. So if I make changes to this file here, and I've used this file in other places, it's synced to the library and therefore to those other places. So if I make a change here, save it, it updates the library and updates everywhere I've used this photo. In this case, the syncing is from the preview image to the Adobe Stock. So if I say, yeah, I want this image, I can right click on it and license it right from here. And this is the advantage that Adobe Stock has over other stock photography places, is that I don't have to go back to a website. I don't have to re-download a file. I don't have to do anything. If I've used this file as a preview 50 places, as soon as I say, yes, license this file, it scrolls up to the top because it's now syncing that file to the high-res version, and it should update, maybe or maybe not, but it should update and remove this stock, Adobe Stock icon or watermark and the file number. Hang on here, maybe the way that I opened it. Let's close it. Let's open it again. There we go. So now this is the high-res version because I now own the license to use this image royalty-free. And now no file number, no Adobe Stock logo, and it is linked to that library. So now if I make changes to it, I am permanently making changes to this file if I save it and flatten it. Or I could, of course, save a copy and not make changes to the linked file. So that's a cool feature of libraries in general. So let me show you how this would work. We'll use this as an example. We'll do something else to it. I'm going to switch to a different library. I have a library called Twitch, just for demoing Twitch. Or demoing on Twitch, and it's got different things in it already. It's got some stock images in it. It's got some regular images in it. It's got some character style, some layer style, some color themes, some colors in general. It's got all these things that I have used throughout working or demoing here on Twitch. So I'm going to create a brand new thing. I'm going to create some text. So let's go ahead and just click our type tool, and let's type the word dance. And we're going to go ahead and make some changes to that, obviously. Let's choose a different font. Let's see if I find something here I like better. There was a new font I wanted to try. Here, let me narrow it down to the Typekit fonts. It wasn't Sail Regular, but I could use that. I can't think of which one it was. Was it Nautica? Maybe it was Nautica. Okay, so I'll use Nautica. And now I want to choose a different color. So I'll just grab a different color here. We can use our skin tone as a color. Great. Or the hair. That might work out better. All right. So we got our color in place. We got our type in place. We've got our, now we're going to size it. We'll make it bigger. So we've got everything in place, and the next thing I just want to see one last little benefit here. Let's bring up that glyphs panel, and let's see if we have any alternates for this. We do. So let's use an alternate. There we go. Let's see if I have a better D. Show me the D's. I kind of like the default one. Okay, so we just changed the E on that using the glyphs panel, new in Photoshop CC, by the way. And now I've got this dance logo type that I've made and colored and did all these things to. And now I want to not have to do this over again. So obviously, if I save the file as a PSD with the layer, I'll have that type from now on in this file. But what if I want to use this dance on other images? What if I want to use it in other programs? What I can do then is come down here to where I have all of the things for the selected layer are outlined. So I can add it as a graphic. I can add it as a character style. If I had done any effects on it, I can add the layer style to it. The color's there. So let's say I really like that color and I want to be able to use that color over and over again. All of those things are accessible to me to add to the current library. So if I say I want to add this as a graphic, now the word dance separate is a layer, transparent, to use from here on out. If I want to, maybe I like that purple color. So I can add that color now. That color is now in my library. So I never have to think about what color was that I used again. Go back, open that file up, try and sample it, try and figure it out, or download swatches or anything like that. It's now synced to the library. And again, had I done an effect on it, which I didn't do, but let's go ahead and go to the layer styles. Let's say that I did a bevel and emboss on it, and that's a bit much for the size of this. So let's bring it down. Maybe something like that. And maybe inner bevel. Hold on. Go back. Am I just not seeing it update? Or is it so unnoticeable? Yeah, it's too small. All right. Yeah, I agree. Pearly Cream, it is definitely great for keeping things organized because you can have it, like you said, you can have a library per client. And just always keep the stuff that you use for that client in that library. All right, so I've got this layer style in there now, and now the layer effect is an option. So if I just click that, that particular dance of layer style is there. It doesn't know what to call it, so I just called it the word dance. And you can rename these, by the way, anything you want, so that you will be able to choose them, whenever you want. So the layer style's there, the character style's there, and actually, I didn't apply the character style. I take that back. Now the character style's there. So the character style's there for Nautica, the layer style's there, the color's there, and the actual word is there. So now here's the advantage of this. Let's say I delete this layer. All right, I'm going to delete the whole layer. And now I deleted it out of this file, but all of those library items are still there. The style, the actual word, everything's still there. If I want to go in and use this word again on a different file, we can actually do that. Let's open up a different file. Although she's not dancing, actually, let's open it. So now we have this this fitness person, and we've got we still have a word dance. So if I drag that over, the word dance comes in at the original size, and it comes in the original style and color, and I can scale it and do whatever I want. And once I lock that in, that becomes, you'll notice over here on the layers panel, instead of just being a regular type layer, it's a Creative Cloud Smart Object layer or Creative Cloud Link layer. So if I go back to the other one, which I deleted it from, and I drag it over here as well. Same thing, it comes over in its original size, which fits perfectly because that's the size we did it for. And it's now a Creative Cloud linked layer. There it is. Now, the reason I say linked is because now that the library items are linked to the library, if I use that word dance on any other program, any other files, anywhere else, they're all linked to the same one in the libraries panel. So if I come back over here and I now double click on this and open it up, and I go in and make a change, for example, we grab our type tool, because now I've opened it up from the library menu, and let's say that I want to change this D to a different glyph. That'd be the easiest, or I'm sorry, the E to a different glyph. Let's say I like this one better now. All right, yeah, I do like that one better actually. So now I'll go ahead and lock that in, and we'll save it. Just save it, close it. Everywhere that file's been used just got updated. So now I have the fancier glyph here. I have the fancier glyph there. And no matter, even though I sized that one down, doesn't matter. It's linked to the original. So anytime you're doing any kind of logo work, changes, using the same elements throughout an entire campaign, not only is using the library a cool way to just store things and have quick access to drag things over, but it's also a linked opportunity for any changes you make replicate throughout all your designs. So everywhere I've used that word dance just got updated because I went in and changed the actual library item. All right, let's do a quick pause and check and make sure that we're not missing anything here. You do screen printing, keep all your mock-ups in the library. Yeah, exactly. GLD in Golden Graphics, if that, or Golden FX. I'm trying to pronounce your screen name, but GLDN PHX. Exactly. So you do screen printing and you keep all your mock-ups in the library. That's a great way to do it. So you have access to them all. All right. And hello, Mighty. Okay, so libraries in general, great to have, great to be able to bring things in and out, and they're synced. But we left off on the Creative Cloud Files folder, and I was talking about sharing or collaborating, and you've got the same option for libraries too. So when Creative Cloud first came out, I was doing a lot of sharing of folders because that's what made sense at the time. When libraries came out, I did less sharing or less collaborating of folders, and I do more collaboration with libraries because it just gives me more flexibility. There are things I can share in a library that I can't share in a folder easily. How am I going to share a color in a folder? How am I going to share a layer style in a folder? But if I put them in a library and collaborate that library, then not only do the people I'm working with have access to the graphics, but they've got access to everything that makes that graphic. So for example, here on this style, if we, going the wrong way there. If I just click on that layer style, it applies it. And so if I say, hey guys, this is the new style for any word you do in this publication, any headline you do in this publication, you can just click that style and it would do it. And by the way, if you do any other type or any other thing, use the color, and we'll rename this color, by the way. You can rename these. So instead of it being the hex code for it, we can say, we can call it dance. Or, let's say that was the name of our project or client. So anytime you use dance, use that color, whatever that color happens to be. So if I go up to the flyout menu for this library, I've got the ability to collaborate. And when I go to collaborate, it takes me back to the web, just like it did for the folder. It shows me the library and everything in it. And it lets me email or put in the email addresses of everyone I want to have access to this library. Once I do that, if they accept, that library shows up in all of their applications. And they would have access to not only the things I've created, but they would be able to put things in the library as well and be able to use any of the library items and contribute to the library as well. And the same things apply. Now, if they delete something from the library, it's deleted. If they make a change to something in the library, it's changed. But there's one more advantage to a library than a folder in the case where I want to give you this stuff, but I don't want you messing up my version. In other words, I want to give you everything in this library for you to do whatever you want to do with it. But if you make changes, I don't want those changes affecting me. So the other way to do a library instead of collaborating, because collaborating is a two-way street. It gives everyone access to everything. The other way to do it is to go to your library flyout menu, and instead of collaborate, the next option down is share a link. So if I do share a link, I should bring up my browser again, maybe. It's coming up. Now I'm creating a public link to the library, and it'll be read-only, which means anyone that uses this library will be able to pull anything out of it they want and use anything they want. If they make changes, those changes don't affect me. So in other words, it would be like me copying everything in this library and handing it to you on a thumb drive. I don't have access to that thumb drive once I give it to you. You do whatever you want to do with it. I don't care. That's the other version of a way of sharing or collaborating, is just send a link to the library, and that way they can't do anything to your versions. Just giving them a copy of everything in it. And what's nice about this is it's not a one-time thing. So if you continue to add things to the library, they'll continue to still see them. But if they make changes, it will not affect you. If they do a delete, it does not affect you. So that's another cool way to use the library options. And just make sure I'm not missing any questions. Oh, I'm missing questions. Sorry about that. Every now and then the refresh stops here on Twitch. So let me bounce out. And bounce back in. I cannot see that, so I have to look over here now because that's no longer refreshing. All right. Oh, I missed a lot of comments. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going back to the screen printing. Saw that. Okay, saw Mighty. Is the font rasterized? No, the font is not rasterized. It is still vector. That's why I was able to still change it. Remember, I went in and changed that one glyph because it's still vector. It's not rasterized. I'm glad you like the channel, Mighty. Oh, I'm glad that you are enjoying retirement and you still get something out of Photoshop in these sessions. Great. Yep. Great to see a creative channel here on Twitch. I agree. All right. Loving 3D in Photoshop. Corey Barker would be happy to hear that. I have to keep working. We can't have me retiring. Well, I'm not going to retire anytime soon, so you're good for now. All right. And let's see if I missed anything else. Tweak one more thing and let us bend an extruded part. Okay. Cool. Any advice for starting a website as a beginner? Yeah, go check out Adobe Muse and my video on how to get started with Adobe Muse at terrywhite.tv. That would be my advice for getting started as a website, getting started on a website as a beginner. And Victoria's already put that in. But yeah, terrywhite.tv, I've got a nice video on getting started with Muse. I'm going to quit my Twitch app over here again. Let's see if I can get it to refresh the comments. I hate that. I'm looking over here. Oh, I don't see any comments. And then there's a ton over here. That's why I had both windows open. That happened to me last time. All right, let me see if it's working now. Okay, it's back in sync, so I should see your comments over here. It's an easier way to look at them. Okay, all right, got 20 more minutes, so let me keep going here. Cool. All right, next up on my list was library. We did libraries, we did sharing. Oh, here's another one. This is another one that often now goes overlooked because This next thing is something that's been in Creative Cloud almost since day one. It's been there for a long time. It's been there for like since the first year. Let's put it that way. But when Adobe Stock got added to the mix, no one talks about it anymore because everyone's focused on Adobe Stock. Adobe Stock is great. I'm an Adobe Stock contributor. I love Adobe Stock. You can see it here in Photoshop. I use Stock all the time. But the one thing about Stock is it is something you have to pay for. You have to either pay for licensing the images individually because the photographers, the artists, the graphic designers want to get paid just like you do. And so therefore this work is not free. However, there is work that is free that you can use that's part of your Creative Cloud account that we just don't think about talking about as much anymore. Not that we're trying to do it on purpose, it's just we forget because we focus on this. So I'm going to bring it up again because it is one of those hidden benefits that a lot of people still miss in their Creative Cloud usage. And it is the Market, Adobe Market. So if I come over here to my Creative Cloud app, desktop app, I've got, the Home tab, the Apps tab, the Assets tab, Stock tab, which is what it defaults to. Be another reason why you might miss it, and the Community tab. So the Home tab kind of just shows you your activity feed, shows you if you've got projects on Behance that you've promoted that people are liking or appreciating, or if you're following people, you'll see their activity, and if people follow you, you'll see that as well. So I do have a Behance page. I'm bad about updating it. I haven't updated it in a while. And every time I see it, I was like, oh, I need to add something to my Behance page just to keep it fresh, and I haven't. But anyway, I'll see that activity here. You'll see updates to apps that you've installed, all that stuff. Of course, the Apps tab, which we're going to come back to, will show you all the current apps that you have access to, which ones you have installed, which ones you haven't installed, which ones you have updates waiting for. The Assets tab, and this is where we forget that this is here often, or at least I do. The Market. This Market tab right here under Assets, everything here is free. You don't have to pay for this stuff in the market. And you can search and you can find lots of things to use in your designs that don't cost you a penny. These people have contributed this stuff for you to use for free. And there's a way for, if you're interested in contributing, there's a way for you to do it as well. I don't know the procedure. You'd have to Google contribute to Adobe Market. I'm sure it'll come up with a link. But everything in here has been contributed for your use royalty free without you paying a dime for it. So for example, I can go ahead and do a search. And let's say I want to search for, well, we're working on dance. Let's say I want to search for dance. And when I just search for dance, I can see left foot, right foot. Okay, I can see another dancer here, a silhouette. These are line art. And search all, okay, you can set categories, search all market assets. Let's see what happens. If anything happens. All right, nothing happens when I do that. But it will show me the things that are available under the keyword dance. Now let's say of all the things I see, I kind of like this ballerina, although these are cool too, but I like this one. And I want to add it to my Creative Cloud library. That's what this button is for. So if you find something you do want to use, I want to add it to the Twitch library. And did I do it? Add to Twitch. And okay, I think I did it. Even though I didn't see a status for it. All right, let's see if it's there. I think oh, wait. Oh yeah, I added it like 3 times because I clicked on it 3 times. So even though the status wasn't there, it was actually doing it. So let me delete the ones I don't need. Don't need that one, don't need that one. And if I pull this over now, that is a vector illustration for me to do whatever I want. I can open that up in Illustrator, work with the vectors. I can open it up here or place it right here in Photoshop or InDesign or Muse or whatever you want, because now that's in your library for you to use. So don't forget about the market. If we go back to it, one of my favorite categories to search in market is the category of music. And if I search for music, it shows me all kinds of cool music icons, logos, notes, things, vector art. Every now and then there might be a photo in here, but most of these are vector, which is good. It means they're resolution independent. Some of these are PSDs or SVGs, I should say. So tons of good. Ooh, I like that one. I might want to use that for something one day. Twitch, add that to my library. Screenshots. Not sure what the benefit of having screenshots would be, but you've got them. And a lot of times I might be trying to mock up a device. So for example, if I, smartphone, I'll get some frames and templates for devices that I can then overlay screens over without me having to trace and draw them myself. Some of these look pretty cool. Some of these are just okay. So, and here's like a whole series. So you can put your screen on each one of the devices there. And that's just a screenshot, really not that interesting. You could do that. And here's a person that did a whole bunch of icons. So these icons could all be used. I see play button, pause, music icons, web icons, navigation icons. So just a whole sheet of icons that you would be able to separate out and use individually. Okay. Are there any 3D models in assets yet? Not yet. And that's not a commitment, but they're not there yet. All right. 12 more minutes to go. Just making sure I don't miss any other comments here. Is there a link to Adobe Market? How do you use it in a mobile app? In the mobile app, it would show up in the libraries section, I think, or the Creative Cloud icon. If it has access to the library or has access to the market, that's where it would show up. Otherwise, you'd add the things to your libraries and access them from a mobile app. So all this stuff I'm adding to the Twitch library would be accessible in my mobile apps as well. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it would depend. I haven't tried to access market assets in a mobile app in a while, so Victoria may have updated information that I don't have. Okay. So just keep in mind the market stuff is there, and just as you can see, sync it. There's no licensing. There's nothing to deal with there. You're getting the full resolution of whatever that was created as. So you can use it any way you want. So for example, I might, in this case, use this like so. Make it nice and big. Since it's vector. And then lower the opacity. Maybe do something like that with it. Okay. Next. Okay, people are going back and forth in the comments talking about where market assets are in the mobile apps. And I'd have to go to each one and try it out, which I don't have time to do right now. But you can. All right, next. Let's see, we did market. Okay, so along the same lines. Now, this is one of those where it depends on your membership. If you are what we call a Creative Cloud Complete member, which means you're paying the average price of $49.99 a month, and you've got access to all the applications, it means you have access to this next thing. If you're on like the photography plan, where you're paying only $9.99 a month, then unfortunately you don't have access to this next thing. This next thing is Typekit. The Typekit library of fonts worth over, and I don't keep up with the current value, but it was last I checked over $40,000 worth of fonts if you were to go out and buy all those fonts individually. That library keeps growing, so it's not a stagnant thing that, we acquired Typekit and we haven't added fonts to it. Yes, we have. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite fonts got added to it recently. But the way Typekit works, same thing. It's integrated into all the desktop apps. So Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Muse, pretty much everywhere that you would use type. It's also in some of the mobile apps. It's in, for example, Comp CC for sure, where you have access to Typekit. And this allows me to go in and get fonts that I don't have without me having to pay anything extra to use them. So for example, if I were to want to put in a subhead or a subline under this, let's go in and do it. Let's grab our type tool. Let's just click. Now it's going to be in the same font or Nautica regular. So let's go in and do since 1985. All right, so I now don't want that since 1985 to be in the same font as Stance for a few reasons, but let's go ahead and make it a little smaller. And now let's go in and say, okay, what font do I want that to be? I'm going to lock it in now. I have no idea what font I want that to be, but one of the ways I can go in and check is just go into my font menu. And of course, the font menu in Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator and so forth and so on will show you every font you have. The ones with the TK next to them are the Typekit fonts. So those are the fonts that I have synced to my account, which means the minute I sync them on one computer, they're already synced or will be synced on my next computer or my other computer. So I don't have to think about, okay, what font did I use on my laptop? Now that I'm on my desktop, it'll already be there. And like I said, these are the ones with TK are the ones I've already went out and got. If I want to go out and get a different one or a new one, or I just want to see what's available, you have a couple options. Number one, instead of looking at all the fonts, like this one's one that I already had, this is a Typekit, this is one I already had, this is one I already had. I just want to see all the Typekits. So in most of the desktop apps now, there's a filter, and that filter will just turn off all the other fonts, meaning you won't see them in the menu. They're there. And if you've used them, they're still there. But now it's just showing me all Typekit. These are all the Typekit fonts I've installed to date. Now, why would I want to just use Typekit? Well, another advantage to just using Typekit fonts is that if I do pass this off to another Creative Cloud member, I don't have to worry about sharing the fonts, because if they're a Creative Cloud member and they can open up my InDesign file, for example, that means they have access to Typekit fonts, and InDesign will even prompt them, or Photoshop will prompt them, hey, you're missing this font. Do you want to sync? You want me to sync it for you? And you just say yes, and it's going to sync the font that I use down. So a lot of times, if I'm going to hand something off to someone or collaborate, I will absolutely prefer to use a Typekit font for that reason. Now, let's say I don't see one that I like here. I can say add fonts from Typekit. When I click, that'll take me to the Typekit website, which I'm signed in, so it knows I have an account here on Creative Cloud. I can go ahead and put in my text that I want to see it in, which is kind of nice. Since 19, oh, sorry, upper and lowercase letters, so I can't put in numbers there. But I can see the since, and I can say, ooh, I can see which ones these look better in. Now, this is showing me kind of everything. It's picking fonts that are popular and putting them at the top. But, oh, I kind of like that one. But if I want to narrow it down to the style of font classification, I can say just show me the sans serifs, and it will now narrow down the list to the sans serifs. If I like a font, I don't know if I'm already using this one, but let's see. Yeah, I'm already using Fira. But here, let me find one that I'm not already using. Let's say I'm not using this one. Yeah. If I find one that I'm not using, then it will show me all the different styles, and I can click Sync. And this is Acumen Pro Wide. So if I say sync that, now I can close this. I can keep looking at fonts and keep syncing, but now that font is being synced to my Creative Cloud account and to my computers and to anywhere that I have Creative Cloud and I'm signed in, and it will automatically be in my font menus. I don't have to quit Photoshop. I don't have to quit my programs. I don't have to download anything and install anything. It just appears. So let's go back and look. That was Acumen Pro Wide. And so now if I go here and go back up, let's see if it made it over. Yep, there it is. Acumen Pro. These are the Acumen Pro fonts. Let's go here, and there's my extra, what was that, extra condensed? I thought I had done wide, unless the wide hasn't synced down yet. But anyway, that's how we would get the fonts over. Once they're synced, they would appear in the menu automatically, nothing else you have to do. And if you want to use that font, which there was one that I kind of liked better, like Fira, then I can go ahead and choose that font and use it. And anyone that I give this document to, if they're a Creative Cloud member, it would automatically sync it for, or give them the choice to sync it for them as well. So let's go ahead and scale this down. Not a great choice for this, but I don't know, for some reason I like that font. And let's go ahead and change this to a capital. Oop. All right, so Typekit fonts, another kind of hidden benefit for people that just don't think about using their Typekit fonts as much as you should, because you have access to them. You have access to be able to use those fonts any way you want, and in any application you want. So, by the way, here's another hidden benefit with Typekit. A lot of people just assume because it's a Typekit font, you can only use it in your Adobe applications. Not true. Once you sync that font and it's available, you can use it in any application. If you want to use those fonts in Microsoft Word, you can. If you want to use them in PowerPoint, you can. If you want to use them in any other application, Pages on your Mac, you can. The fonts are the fonts once they're synced. So your system will notice them and your system will use them even though they're being managed by the Typekit or Creative Cloud app. Is there a way to batch reduce the size of photo files in Photoshop, i.e. 10 files, 2 megabytes? Yes, there is. There's a lot of ways to do it. You can create an action. You can create a droplet. You can go to your file menu and you can choose automate and batch and do it that way. Or you can do a script where you use the image processor and do it that way. There's lots of ways to do it. I have a whole video or a whole session on automating Photoshop. I did it live on Twitch, so you can search the video demand here, or you can go look at my YouTube channel and search for Automate Photoshop. And that's one of the examples I use, is doing a whole folder of images to batch. You can, of course, also do it in Lightroom. Lightroom, if you import them into Lightroom, you can export them all out in a certain size. Okay. No problem. You're welcome. All right. We got 2 minutes left. Let's see if I have time for one more. All right. Yeah, this will be a quick one. So we talked about the apps before. I kind of glossed over that tab. And of course, the apps are the main reason probably why you're a Creative Cloud member. I'm sure it's not for the file folder. So you basically join Creative Cloud so you can access your apps. One thing that people don't realize is that when we first had Creative Cloud, you could only use the desktop app to install them. Now you can use the desktop app to uninstall directly from here, but that's not the benefit I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you here is where you see previous versions. When you twirl this down, which by the way, you can say view previous versions, all apps, so forth and so on. So you can designate what's going to show here. But what this lets me do is, for whatever reason, if I want to see a previous version of an app, I can see them. But if I want to install, here, let me do this. There we go. If I want to install a previous version, I have access to every version all the way back to CS6. So why would you care? Like, why would you need to install CS6 or the original CC? And by the way, that's even if you never owned CS6, you can install all the way back to that version. The reason is maybe your second system can't handle the latest version. Maybe on on the current system, you have a plugin that doesn't work in the current version. So you'd be able to go back and install. You can install multiple versions on the same computer if you even want to. So if I want the current version of CC, but I also need the original version of CC to be compatible with something, I can have them both running and both installed and even running at the same time if I want. And it will work fine. So when we first started doing Creative Cloud, I had CS6 that I kept installed, and I had whatever version of CC was installed just so I can show people, hey, here's Photoshop CS6, here's the regular version, here's what's new in this version versus that version, and here, let's launch them both at the same time and have them both open. So that would be another hidden benefit, is that you have access to everything back to CS6 at all times if you need to ever reinstall or go back a version or two for some reason. And that brings us to, we're a little bit over our time actually for the first segment. But since I'm the second segment as well, I can be over my time. But if you're just getting here for the Introduction to Lightroom CC Part 2, stay tuned. I'm going to stop this stream so we can archive it as a video on demand. And then we'll start up our second stream for the Introduction to Lightroom. So you don't have to go anywhere if you're watching live. If you are watching this as a replay, thanks for watching the replay. We'll catch you on the next one. All right, so hang out in the chat just for a minute. Let me stop this and start it back.